Hi everybody and welcome back to the channel. I have a quick update video on vZero just because I thought it's interesting to get behind the scenes of how these systems are built, and some people have claimed to have found the system prompt of vZero, so stick around as we'll have a look at what they claim to have uncovered, and we'll try to reverse analyze it to understand how this beautiful system has been built. Just quick refresher, vZero is this agentic coding UI which lets you create a small Next.js application for quick prototypes, anything you can think of. So for example, make a bouncing cookie SVG. Let's ask it to do this. And it has now this thinking mode. It can render, you can even do a little bit of backend. So it can make a full stack Next.js application, code it for you, tweak it. So while this runs, let's go over to what these people are claiming. So I started seeing on X the rounds of this post, which links to a Reddit post of a person who claimed to have the full system prompt. Just so you understand, when you're coding agents, the system prompt is probably 50% of the actual agent, the rest being the implementation of the tools, which are important on their own. But having a really good system prompt is key to ensuring that your agent behaves the way it does, that it behaves predictably, it knows how to call the tools. And this is often the reason why Claude Sonnet 3.5 and now 3.7 is so good at doing what it is. For Cursor, for example, the coding IDE that took the world by storm, especially for coders. So it's so good because Claude is really good at parsing instructions and applying them on tool usage. And 4.0 is pretty good as well from GPT. But if this is the real system prompt from vZero, it could be pretty interesting. So let's just go see if our little result is done. And you see, we have now a bouncing cookie that we can pause and unbounce. But now getting back to the prompt. Guillermo Rauch, the CEO of Vercel, just cryptically said he's happy how people are passionate about vZero. And there's been other members of the Vercel team who have claimed that this is an hallucination. However, these systems, even if it is an hallucination, it doesn't come from nowhere. So these systems are typically well connected to their context, to their attention mechanism. So if it hallucinated the system prompt, there's a big chance a lot of it is actually in the system still. But obviously this is of no use if you don't have the UI, if you don't have the capacities to do the tools yourself. But it's still a good start to have a look at it. So let's see what this person shared. So it is in a repo on GitHub. And they shared that they have access to the full prompt, which is over 2,000 lines. So we're not going to have the exact look over it. I'll put it in the description. But what I think would be useful is trying to have a recap, especially I got it to Claude on Anthropic on the UI, and to have an overview of the actual system that, a lot of these things we knew, but to see how they're actually used is pretty interesting. So on the right, we have the pasted content, which was the prompt. And on the left, we have the analysis, where we see they have support for specific models through the Vercel AI SDK. It says also that the runtime environment is a limited lightweight Next.js support, so there's no full support, so you likely wouldn't able to use a bunch of custom libraries because the vZero environment is limited. And that's why it's often said to be good for prototypes and won't scale for a full application. While you can do cool things like animations, and you can do data fetching. Doing something a bit more complex in JavaScript really balloons your dependencies quickly. So installing a lot of dependencies in a React project is the life of a developer. So vZero will not get you there. It will make toy applications, but it will not, get you as far. But one that I found really interesting was this development best practices. You can see that they are focusing a lot on some interesting patterns like forcing kebab case, responsive design, of course. This means that you have design that fits on smaller screens and bigger screens. But also you see that it's focusing on good practices, which not all devs think about. So a lot of devs will often put click on divs, which should always go to a button or a link element. So things like this, things like accessibility, semantic, area roles, alt text are super important for SEO And they're one of the things that make Vercel often stand out as a company thinking about DX, thinking about like good user experience. And which is why vZero is so powerful, because they brought a lot of that Vercel mentality into the system that they created. So I highly encourage you to go and have a look at this repo so you can see the different tools, the system prompt, and the discussion about the model. Obviously, take this with a grain of salt. Doesn't mean that they're real prompts, but there are good learning opportunities in reading the 2,000 lines. I know it's long. However, in this day and age where we're used to short attention span, it's a good exercise to just get down and focus and study these systems, because knowing how to build these systems sets you apart from being just a consumer of AI to being a producer of AI. So I highly recommend it. I'll leave a few links in the description, and let me know in the comments what you think.